Well, spring is pretty much here. We got a bit of snow, but it's time to start splitting firewood. My firewood shed is pretty much empty. I got a little bit left to burn, but I got a whole slew of stuff here. But we're looking at the 4290 specifically today. And this is the kind of start of our commercial lineup of machines. And it's a 32-ton rated machine. We've got 11 seconds there and back, so split that in half per split basically. It comes standard with a 24-inch stroke, and we have longer strokes, but it's just a really stout, sturdy machine that a lot of commercial guys use to split a lot of their big wood. Now, we make a couple different models of the 4000 series, and we make a 4490, which is the more popular option in the 4000 series machine. And we do get people that ask, well, why do you produce a 42 with just a machined two-way wedge if the 44 is a more popular option? And we got a couple really good answers for that. One being is that there's a bunch of guys that run firewood processors that are keeping this off the side to split a lot of their bigger, gnarly stuff that they won't put through a processor. I have the local county that drops off all of their trash. Basically, it's full of wire, it's full of knots, it's bigger, ugly stuff. And a machine like this makes sense in those cases because if you're putting a multi-way wedge on it, it will split it, but you're not gonna get nice looking firewood. It's gonna pull it and tear it to pieces, whereas a nice two-way machined wedge is gonna be able to slice that really gnarly stuff and produce some decent looking firewood. Now, obviously, when you get into the bigger style machines, they're gonna cost a little bit more. Yeah, you get more power, bigger engine, bigger reservoir, so on. One of the things we always tell people when they're asking, well, what, you know, if I should I get a push-through machine, or should I get a two-way split fire, or what should I get? And I say, you know what, it really depends what you're splitting. If you're buying this machine here to split your 16-inch rounds that are, you know, pull rounds nice and straight, that's not what this machine is meant for. You know, if you have a 36-inch round right there and a nasty crotch, that's what this is for. Because if you're using a push-through style machine, either on the bigger stuff, you might want to go to a box wedge, which does work good, but you're left with a lot of slash on the ground, so you got to contend with the slash. And if you're using just a straight way or a four-way on a push-through style machine, if you're pushing through a 36-inch log, you're seeing a lot of guys walking around to the back table, picking up the top quarter or the bottom quarter and carrying it back around and putting it back. If they're not carrying it, they're kind of leaning over, pulling with a pickaroon back. That can be a lot of work in certain cases. Whereas with a 4290, you're gonna continuously sit right here and that wood's not gonna move and the knife is gonna traverse through the wood. So in that bigger stuff, it works really, really well. Now, of course, just like any split fire, we've built these machines to be pretty much as maintenance-free as possible. It's got slide pads on all four sides of the slider here, which means you're not oiling it, greasing it, you just keep splitting it. You might wash it with a pressure washer every once in a while. All of our soft spots are back on this side of the machine, so if you're dropping wood or wood's getting tossed, you got a low risk of damaging the tank or the filter and that kind of stuff. And we've really just tried to make these as bulletproof as possible. They're weighing around 700 pounds, depending on how you option it. And you know, it's something that you would buy and you would run for years and years. Even if you got a guy on it for 6-7 hours a day, we've had guys that have put thousands of cords through these things. And just keep in mind, when you're buying any of our machines, including this 4290, you can spec it to really what you need as far as spec goes. I'm 6'1", and I might want a machine like this here with a 4-inch lift and a 12-inch tire. If I'm buying a machine of this size, I'm getting a lifter because I'm gonna be lifting wood that weighs at least 300, in some cases 400 pounds up onto this table. So the lifter is gonna be a must-have on a machine of this size. And you can get stuff like lights, fenders, you can get even if maybe you're 6'4" and you want that 8-inch lift, you can do that too. But just keep in mind, if I was only doing large wood, I would probably almost keep this at a lower bed height because that wood is gonna keep getting higher and I wanna have a really good stance and purchase on that wood when I'm splitting it so it's not getting away on me. So other than that, let's fire this baby up and let's start splitting some wood. So small wood like this obviously isn't what this machine's meant for. Yeah, does it work? Yeah, absolutely, but this machine's meant for bigger, gnarly stuff. Doesn't mean you can't split two at once, though. Nice thing with a log splitter like this, too, if your wood's cut on an angle, like that, it seems really extreme, but it won't slip and kick out. Really cool thing about a split fire. See that? It'll hold on to it. So as far as a splitter, good and safe as well. That stops you grab it, keep from slipping out. So it's not a huge piece of wood. Well, I'll kind of show you how I would split this. Make it easy on myself. Pull it over. And we're not going to split it in the middle. I could, but I'm going to split it on a quarter because that's the side I'm working with. Now we split it in half, and then from this side, I can just work with this piece here. I don't have to pull around or walk around, or shouldn't have to, and you just reduce the amount of movement you're doing when you're splitting this chunk of wood. And from there, the goal is to really not let that knife stop. That knife should keep going back and forth. There's an interesting view. This is all the wood from the county right there. You can tell it's just full of wire. And you can see I took my chainsaw through a piece. So, you know what? A lot of this really rough wood is not great, but it's free wood. And I know there's a lot of people like me that have access to wood like this, and you know, that's where a 4290 comes in, you know, really well, is on wood like this. It's not very pretty, but it's good BTUs. It'll burn good. So I'm gonna empty this trailer for a second, but you can see even with a 5.5 one way, 5.5 second back on a total 11-second cycle time, even though it might look slow, I'm keeping myself busy the whole time by flipping wood back and forth and that knife going back and forth. You can remain more than enough productive to keep two guys pretty busy on just a machine like this. Now, just keep in mind that beyond the options you see here, we also do a high flow kit. And the high flow kit is gonna cut the cycle time in half or speed that knife up twice as much. And what you get with your high flow kit is you get a bigger engine, bigger pump, bigger lines, high flow cylinder. You get all that stuff to make it run quick but stay cool at the same time. You know, if you're splitting your bigger stuff, you know, 20 inches plus, you get some 36 and 40s, maybe the odd 44 inch. This is a good machine for that, but you're not buying this for your smaller stuff. This is way overkill and you can get something quicker. But these machines have been used over and over again in a commercial setting and they work really good. Very little maintenance. But if you got questions about the options in the machine, or you got more questions, you want to talk to someone, see more at split-fire.com or give us a call at the office. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, give us a comment, give us a big like, and we appreciate the subscribe. Have a good one.